I'm a guy that's 25. Lego Star Wars is my life. I like Ryan Johnson. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here, back in with another video, and this is going to be episode number 66 of the Starkiller base MOC build series. Before we get into the MOC, I want to thank those of you who joined the live stream this past week and contributed via super chats. So shout out to Brent, Brix, Ehtan the Artisan, Brix Films, as well as Elias Jones. I also have to give mad thanks to those of you who joined my new channel memberships. If you guys didn't check out that video, I have officially launched memberships on my channel. There are many perks, but I think the one that you all are going to care about the most is you're going to be getting vlogs. I launched a public vlog this past weekend. If you guys enjoyed that and you want to see more of those, consider being a member on my channel. The biggest reason I launched this is because if any of you have been a fan of me, for the past year or so, I took quite a bit of a break earlier this year when I was back in school, and I don't want to have to do that anymore. I don't want to have to neglect the channel to prioritize school and work. So if the channel is bringing in more funds, that means that's more time I can devote to it. So I'm proactively setting myself up because I'm in the summer right now and I can devote more time right now, but I'm going to be back in school next semester and I don't want to have to, have basically limited uploads for this channel. So if you guys would like to support, you can join the memberships by hitting the join button. I would sincerely appreciate it. This week, as you can tell by the thumbnail and title, I've been working on the Oscillator building and I am extremely happy with the progress I made this week. I feel like it's been a while since I've been this happy with the progress that I've made in one single update, but you guys are going to see, just behind me and in the update itself, this building is coming together so well. I'm really happy with the details that I put into it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking and let's jump right into the build. Man, I was up working on this thing until 3 a.m. last night and I had no clue. Like, I was just going in, putting pieces together, working real hard to get this thing built up, and I look over the clock and it's like 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh my god. I don't know if I've ever gotten that immersed in a building session where I just completely disregarded what time it was. The biggest thing that took me so long with this wall right here is I actually built it twice. The first time I built it, it just looked way too bare. I wasn't happy with it. I didn't think that it was consistent with the level of detail that I tried to achieve everywhere in this build. So I basically tore the entire thing apart and I started from nothing. I started from scratch again. I tried to incorporate more details that maybe flowed a little bit better together, if that makes any sense. And I think I'm much more happy with the way this came out. There's so many various things to talk about here. I guess we can start from the right side. These pipes right here, I want to have these slopes covering them on each of these sections up here, but I just don't have enough of those right now. So that's going to have to be an order I make, but I do quite like the way this design looks with these slopes covering the pipes right there. I added some dark tan elements in here just to represent some rusting, and you'll notice all over it there's a lot of those white plates kind of stacked in there just to represent some snow that might get swept up under here. Who knows? We have these two tiled sections that kind of curve over to the left side. I do want to replace these with dark gray versions of these pieces. I just don't have any. So once again, that's going to be an order I'm going to have to place. I kind of came up with this interesting looking assembly right here. It's not really supposed to be anything in particular, but it was just something I kind of threw together that I thought made for some nice scribbling, and that's how that ended up there. I'm also using a lot of these door pieces, and I love this technique so much. I feel like this is a technique that you're seeing more and more being used, primarily with vehicle MOCs, if I'm being honest. But what you basically do is you take, there's various ways to connect it, but what I do is I take, this door piece right here, and I take a 1x1 headlight brick, so you can see it's put in there in reverse, and you actually, if you just slide it in at an angle and then turn it, you'll have both edges of the little handle kind of catch the sides of the headlight brick. And then boom, you have a nice panel right there. It looks quite nice. It's not as thick as like a tile is up here, so you just get varying degrees of panels, if that makes sense. I like the way it came out. Another cool thing I did was this little indented section right here, and I used the fin design. I'm using that really in a lot of places in this build because for all the reference material I look at, I find these heat sink style fins everywhere in Starkiller base. So I think that looks good. And then, of course, I integrated this. I was kind of inspired by like a Star Destroyer bridge in there. I kind of imagined like maybe there is a viewport somewhere inside of here and it might be styled kind of like the Star Destroyer bridge, or if not, it's just a piece of greebling that resembles a Star Destroyer bridge. Either way, it worked out pretty well. So you can see this wall is mostly done. What I'm actually going to work on right now is the underside of this because I want this section to flow well to the underside, and it's going to be completely snot. As you can see, I kind of started working on it right there. So I'm going to see basically how I can get this entire thing covered with plates just so I can have something to build on. I may not fully detail it right now. I think I really, really want to get all 3 walls done, so that side and that side as well. For this update, that's my main goal, and then if I have time, we'll work on the undersides of these. So for right now, I'm just going to make sure that this works out. If it does, I'm going to say cool, and I'm going to move on to the other walls. So let's go ahead and do it. All right, guys, after another long night of building, I have constructed the 2 other giant walls on this Oscillator building, but we're going to start with the one on the right hand side. First of all, just to give you a point of reference, you can see that's the first wall I did, and now we're moving to this side to look at this wall. This one I tried to employ a variety of techniques just to include some greebling and even some variation in the paneling on this. So you can see I threw in this 16 by 16 plate. I used some bracket pieces to level it off with the rest of the bricks here. And I like the way it came out. I ordered a bunch of these dark gray sandwich tiles, I don't even know, like earlier this year, really for no particular reason other than just that I like them. They're cool pieces. And I was like, you know what? I can get some cool angles in here, just some cool shapes in the wall of this building. And if you look at some of the shots where you can see the side of this building in the background, you'll notice there are some of these triangular shapes in there, and I was like, I want to incorporate that in some way. I technically could have just used just the normal slopes in here, just connected to the bricks, but I also wanted a variation in the sizes of these panels. So, obviously there's just a bunch of bricks here, but when you switch it up by using tiles, you just get a different aesthetic for the surface of the wall. So I think that actually worked out very well. Another piece of greebling that I'm particularly proud of is this one down here with those cheese slopes and the ladder connected into it. I don't know why, but I don't know, that piece of greebling just looks really nice to me. I'm super happy with how that came out. As you can see, I'm still continuing to use these door pieces in here. Those just make nice little panels and they look really cool. And I just added a little, I don't know what you'd call that, but there are some antennas coming out of it. One of the nicest things about this section, I think, is just how smooth this corner is. Like, this was one of the very first things I designed on this building. And it just looks so clean, especially for such a large building. I feel like when people see this in person, they're going to be like, wow, like, how did you even get these 2 walls to come together that smooth? This really, because of the way this is angled on this table, this one's popping out maybe a little more than it should, but ideally it would look like this, and you have a virtually seamless edge right there. So I think that looks so awesome. That's one of the things I'm most proud of on this building, just how smooth the edges are going to be. Now that I've been using this panel technique in various places on this build, I don't think I'll ever do anything where I have to, have an edge come together like this and not use the panel technique, because it does just look so clean, especially for Lego. The final thing on this side that I want to show you guys is basically how I'm finishing off the corner over here. So you'll notice that right here is just kind of like a flat surface, and that's what I'm going to do coming all the way up to the top. I do still need to basically extend this section to go all the way back to be where this wall ends. But that's kind of my idea. What I'm actually thinking about doing in this corner, as well as the corner on the other side, is making these the like ladders that Ray and Finn used to climb up into this building. I know we only really see them climbing up on one side, but I feel like it might be a cool bit of detail to just have it on both sides. Like, in my head, it makes sense as a canonical thing, and I think it would look kind of weird to just have it on one side. but to not have it on the other side. So that's probably what I'm going to do here. Right now, this is relatively temporary, but the most important thing for me was getting these panels here to just make sure I could clean up this edge. And then obviously I need to replace all of those lattice slopes with the dark gray version. So do have a few orders I'm going to need to make to finish off this building. But now let's go to the other side. This side, as you can see, also has that very clean edge right here. I love the way that looks. Like, it was one thing for me to see this, you know, when I was just prototyping, but to finally see it in the right color and with two massive walls, me enjoying because of it, just really looks awesome to me. Hopefully you guys get as much out of this as I do. But you can see I went all out with the indentation on this side of the building, and I think it looks awesome. It kind of breaks up the monotony of just having a bunch of large gray walls, having this section be indented, and then having these fins kind of going across it. I think that looks really nice. I continued with a few of those smaller doors on this side of it. And then on the other side, you can see I did an even bigger version. I used two 16 by 16 plates to get a nice big panel in here. And once again, I'm using those cheese slopes. I'm using the sandwich tiles in order to get those triangular shapes in there. And that just looks so good to me. I love the way that came out. It just gives you a nice texture on the paneling of these buildings. Oftentimes in Star Wars, you'll notice that the surfaces of things like Star Destroyers, just buildings like these, look very patchwork. Like, you know, it's not just one smooth, solid surface. It looks like a bunch of panels with slight color differences that have all been stitched together somehow. Obviously, I can't represent those subtle color differences with just standard Lego pieces. But what I can do are things like this, you know, switching up between bricks and tiles right here to just get various sizes of panels. It makes it look just that much closer to the way it should look on screen. I didn't finish out the corner over here, but this side of the building is actually one that is represented in the film. So if you look at the screenshot right here, you can see there's basically the stairs, or not the stairs, the ladder that Rey and Finn climb up into the building right here. Next to it, there's like some paneling in here with those triangular shapes with those angled lines. And then on the right of that, there's this little indented section in the building, and there's like some greebling and stuff. I obviously didn't go all out with the greebling in there like it would probably be in the film, just because I didn't want this to be too drastically detailed compared to everything else. But I am at least representing that, and once I have that ladder section over on the other side, I think it'll holistically be a very recognizable scene from the film. I think I'll probably also put a first order snowspeeder parked somewhere over here, and it makes sense in the context of the MOCs too. And that actually makes sense in the context of the MOC, because once this is connected to everything else, the actual base is going to be from that side, right? So if you remember, I had, the outside of the base, that long row of buildings with the windows at the top, and then that sloped snow section. So that's going to slope down, and then the snow is basically going to lead all the way up into this section. At the very corner of that was the elevator. So the idea in the canon of the MOC is when they escape the base, they take the elevator out the same way they came in. I'm guessing they find a first order snowspeeder somewhere along the way, and then they take the snowspeeder from the base over here all the way up to here, and then that's where they go into this building. So that's kind of my idea for that. I think it's going to work out pretty well. I love, small, subtle things like that. It's not something that is necessary for the MOC, right? But for my headcanon, I love having my MOC flow in a logical way. I did it with Vardos, and now I'm doing it with Starkiller Base, so I think it's pretty cool. But now that I've shown you each individual wall, I'm going to try my best to get you guys a shot of the entire thing. Unfortunately, just with the way this thing is angled, it's actually quite difficult to get the entire building in one frame. Just because, I don't know why, on camera, the angles of these walls look a lot more drastic than maybe they actually are. But you can see here, this is a massive building. I don't even know if that can convey as well on the camera, but this thing is just huge, guys. Like, this is somehow bigger than I thought it would be. Like, I knew it'd be huge, but this is honestly on another level. So when you're looking at it dead on, you can see that main front wall and then two walls that are slanted on the sides of it. Unfortunately, this is going to be our stopping point for this week's episode, but I do really hope you got a kick out of seeing these 3 giant walls be constructed for this building. I think once we start moving up, once I start that angle section on the top, you're going to get an even better idea for just how this building is supposed to look. And that makes me super happy. Like this thing is coming out exactly as I envisioned it. Honestly, probably better than I envisioned it. Because now I know that it's actually going to work. There's always that uncertainty when you're thinking of a build and you're not quite sure how everything's going to line up. But now that I have these bottom sections angled up perfectly, I am a very happy boyo. Like, this is going to be so awesome. The trench is obviously going to be leading up to the building right here below it. This whole building is going to be elevated by like a foot as well, if you guys weren't aware of that. So it's going to be massive, man. And then once we start on the inside, there's going to be plenty of room to have like the balcony section, the walkway where Han and Kylo meet up, the staircases, all that good stuff is going to be represented in this building. So I'm hoping you guys are enjoying this journey along the way. Let me get you one more look at it from over on this side. And let's go ahead and move to the outro of the video, guys. And that's going to finish up the update this week, guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about the build so far. This building is just so massive. I really do hope that you guys can tell just from the camera just how big this thing is. Like, just looking at it, like I said, I knew it was going to be big, but I did not realize it would be quite this large. And we still have the roof section to do, which is actually sloped. So it's probably going to end up being like this tall, which is ridiculous. I am slightly considering lowering these walls, maybe 6 bricks or so, because looking at photos of the Oscillator building, it looks more wide. Obviously, I don't really have the option to make this thing wider. I'm basically working with the space I have allocated for it in the build, and it has to line up with the trench in a certain way. But what I can do is proportionally make it look more wide by basically not making it as tall, if that makes sense to you guys. It's not something that I really have to do right now. Fortunately, with the way I've designed the Technic structure, if I do decide to drop these walls by a few bricks, I can just lower this entire section by pulling out some Technic pins. Not something that's really going to be difficult to do at all. Like, I could basically finish this entire design, and at the very end, if I'm like, it looks too skinny and tall, it should look wider, that is something that I can do. So that's just something in the back of my mind. I think for right now, I'm not really going to focus on it, just because I want to make more progress and kind of see through my original design. And, you know, if it does end up being the case that it needs to be shorter, I can always adjust that. So just want to let you guys in on what I'm thinking of. But my goal for, you know, between now and the next update is I want to have these walls done. I want to have the underside of this done, and I want to have those sloped sections done. Basically, I want to have everything other than the roof and the interior done. If I can even start on the interior, that'd be awesome. That's a little bit ambitious, I think. But I mean, who knows? Like, stranger things have happened, right? But that's really all I got for you guys this week. If you like what I do, go ahead, support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, or being a channel member. That is really the ultimate way that you can support the channel, and I sincerely appreciate everyone who's done it so far, and I hope that, you know, more of you decide to jump in on that. I feel like I have a lot to offer there. Like, if you remember, you saw photos of this building coming together even before this update. But that's all I got for you guys this week, and I'll see you all again very soon.